Hey Sun Devil fans, Megan Plain here with Devil's Digest alongside publisher Hode Rubino, and we're previewing this Friday's matchup between ASU and U of A. Hode, it's a rivalry game. There's always a lot of emotions involved, so how do you see that affecting the game? How do you see these teams controlling those emotions?
Well, Todd Graham said earlier today that whoever wins the turnover battle is probably going to win this football game, and emotions can really play both ways. Obviously, if you're too hyped for the game and you're not really executing your fundamentals, executing your technique, executing the game plan, then turnovers are bound to happen. On the other hand, you obviously want to play with enough passion to go ahead and create those turnovers, create those takeaways. So it's really a fine line when it comes to the emotion side of it. A lot of times these games are close because of the emotional factor and because of the turnover factor, and that's something that you definitely have to be cognizant of. We talked about it a couple weeks ago when it was senior day for Arizona State, and how revved up you are before the game, but you have to really put that aside and play the game and execute your game plan. So it's really going to be hard, I'm sure, to contain those emotions. I mean, you look at U of A, have lost 8 games in a row, have yet to win a game in the Pac-12, but it's not like everything is coming up roses at Arizona State on a 5-game skid right now, having to win that game and on Friday to be bowl eligible and really try to put some positive twist on the season. So some of it, yes, has to be accomplished with emotion to play well, but it seems like sometimes rivalry games, that fine line of emotion does get crossed more often than not. And if Arizona State wants to win the game, they just have to make sure that compared to their arch rival Arizona, they keep their emotions in check.
Now, much like ASU, U of A has had their struggles on defense as well. How do you see ASU exploiting those struggles?
Well, I think basically when it comes to the Arizona defense, they have not proven to be playing well against the run. We've said it all year that this Arizona State offense is going to go as far as the running game will take them. And obviously there have been major issues with the ground attack for the Sun Devils in recent weeks. If Arizona State can establish that run early and often, I think that they really stand a really good chance to really break the dam, if you will, with the Arizona defense, which I could say has been struggling already all year long, and really establish their game and really establish their balanced offense. We're seeing players like N'Keal Harry and Tim White are very capable wide receivers, but just imagine how much more successful they can be in every game when the opposing defense has to respect the ground attack, and frankly that hasn't happened in recent games. So there's no doubt in my mind that Arizona State is not going to win this game if they don't have a balanced offense compared to what they've had the last few weeks. So it's really imperative that the running game does get on track. Todd Graham talked about Manny Wilkins at quarterback, practicing for the first time in quite a while, practicing a full slate of practices. So I expect improved game from him. But again, to me, it really starts and ends with the running game and really maybe the offensive line for that matter. Those are two groups that have to elevate their play from recent weeks, and if they will, I think that puts Arizona State in an excellent position to win.
Now, for the Wildcats, it has been a revolving door at the quarterback position. So how do you see ASU's defense stacking up against that?
Well, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to start for the Wildcats. So right now it looks like it's going to be Brandon Dawkins, who is definitely a dual-threat quarterback in terms of his athleticism and making plays with his feet, and that can be a challenge for any defense. But on the other hand, it seems like every time Brandon Dawkins has played or at least started, the passing game has really suffered for the Wildcats, and their offense has become really one-dimensional. So for Arizona State, I think if Brandon Dawkins is going to start, really they need to force him to beat them with his arm, and obviously put a spy on him on defense to make sure that he does not really hurt you with his athletic ability, making plays with his feet or just throwing on the run, and plays of that like. But if it's going to be Anu Solomon at quarterback, I think you're going to see a more balanced offense by the Wildcats, and that could be somewhat of a challenge for Arizona State. But again, as much as we talk about the struggles of Arizona State, Arizona has had just as much, if not more, struggles on both sides of the ball, and their offense has definitely been anemic at times, no matter who the quarterback is. But I feel that if Arizona State can really put the pressure on the quarterback, whether it's Anu Solomon or Brandon Dawkins, to beat them with his arm, and also really shut down the Wildcats' running game, because that has been one aspect that has been actually pretty consistently positive in their season. But if they can do that. I think the Arizona State defense, as much struggles that they had with the passing defense, would gladly take their chances, I think, with the Arizona's passing offense.
Now, this game for ASU could give them a huge opportunity because they could get a bowl game if they walk away with a victory. But do you see ASU coming home with that cup once again?
Yeah, I think when you look at the matchups, like I said, I mean, both teams have shown a lot of deficiencies throughout the year, both on offense and on defense. But I feel when you really look closely at the matchups, I think Arizona State does have an edge over there. I think their offense is capable of ringing up more yards and more points on the board than Arizona. And I think the stats throughout the year really have proved that. I also think special teams, something that you usually don't talk about a lot unless something goes wrong, but special teams, especially with a kicker like Zane Gonzalez, Matt Hawk at punter, Tim White at kick and punt returner, those are elements that can really make the difference in close games. And sometimes rivalries, not always, but sometimes rivalry games are very close. And that's where special teams can really come into play. So, both teams are entering this game in a pretty miserable I would say state of mind, and Arizona maybe suffered more than Arizona State, but I do see Arizona State breaking their 5-game skid and beating Arizona 38-27 on Friday.
Perfect. Thanks, Hode. For more coverage leading up to this Friday's game down in Tucson, Arizona, as well as post-game coverage, keep it right here at DevilsDigest.com.